when Daniel Hayes, a decorated veteran who had spent 2 decades serving his country, returned to civilian life, he sought peace, stability, and a sense of belonging that war zones had stolen from him. He was a man in his early 40s, strong, but weathered, carrying the scars of both visible injuries and invisible trauma. Daniel dreamed of having a quiet home where he could heal, away from the noise of crowded cities. When he stumbled across an unusual listing, an abandoned stone mansion in a small town offered for the symbolic price of just $1, he believed fate had intervened. The mansion was massive, built in the late 1800s with tall, arching windows, ivy-covered walls, and a reputation of grandeur long forgotten. The town officials simply wanted someone to restore it instead of letting it collapse into ruin. And Daniel, eager to start fresh, signed the papers without hesitation. He thought he had won a hidden treasure, but the deeper Daniel went into the mansion, the more he realized his so-called bargain was no blessing. The first time he stepped inside, the thick air smelled of mold, decay, and something else he couldn't identify, something sour and metallic. Dust clung to every surface. Furniture was draped in white sheets like forgotten ghosts, and broken chandeliers dangled precariously from the ceilings. The floorboards groaned under his boots, but what unsettled him most was the feeling that he was not alone. He dismissed it as his imagination, after all. Years of war had made him hyper-aware of every sound and shadow. Over the following weeks, Daniel began cleaning, fixing leaks, and tearing down rotten walls. Each swing of the hammer seemed to awaken the mansion's past. In one of the upstairs bedrooms, he found old photographs stuffed into a drawer, faded images of a family that once lived there, a stern-looking father, a fragile mother, and 3 children whose eyes, even through sepia tones, appeared sorrowful. On the back of one photo was a note scribbled in a hurried hand, "Forgive me." Daniel felt an unease that lingered long after he set the photo down. The deeper he explored, the stranger the discoveries became. In the cellar, he stumbled upon a locked room, its door reinforced with rusted chains. Breaking the lock, Daniel discovered rows of crates filled with broken toys, cracked dolls, and hand-carved figurines. What disturbed him most were scratch marks etched into the stone walls as if someone or something had been trapped there. The veteran who had faced bullets and bombs felt his blood run cold. He told himself it was just history, remnants of people long gone. The mansion seemed to whisper otherwise. At night, the creaks turned into footsteps, and doors he swore were closed would stand ajar by morning. He began hearing muffled voices. When he tried to sleep, pleading whispers calling his name, though no one else was there. Daniel, a man hardened by war, found himself gripping a flashlight and his old service pistol as he roamed the hallways, heart pounding. He started questioning his sanity, wondering if the solitude of the mansion was stirring hallucinations. But evidence soon proved it wasn't just in his head. One morning he awoke to find muddy footprints leading from the front door to the cellar, though the doors had remained locked all night. Another day, his tools were scattered across the hall as if tossed by unseen hands. Determined to uncover the truth, Daniel dug into the town's archives. What he found was darker than he imagined. The mansion had belonged to a wealthy industrialist named Victor Caldwell, whose public image was one of generosity, but whose private life was steeped in cruelty. Rumors swirled of children disappearing near the estate in the early 1900s, but nothing was ever proven. Some townsfolk whispered that Caldwell experimented on orphans he adopted, disguising it as charity. After his mysterious death, the mansion was abandoned, shunned by locals who called it cursed. Armed with these unsettling revelations, Daniel returned to the mansion with a mixture of dread and determination. The walls seemed to close in on him as he uncovered more disturbing clues, hidden journals filled with rants about purity and sacrifice, strange diagrams etched with symbols he couldn't decipher, and even a small hidden chamber behind a fireplace containing shackles bolted to the floor. Each discovery painted a clearer picture. This mansion wasn't simply abandoned. It had been a prison of horrors. Regret began to gnaw at Daniel. He thought the mansion would give him peace, but instead, it dragged him deeper into darkness. His nights became unbearable. He dreamed of the children from the photographs, hearing their cries echo through the halls. Sometimes he would wake to find himself standing in rooms he hadn't entered, as though led there in his sleep. The veteran who had faced the worst of humanity on foreign soil now felt hunted in his own home. But the final blow came when Daniel decided to renovate the attic. Hidden beneath the floorboards, he discovered a metal box containing bones, small, fragile, unmistakably human. Alongside them lay more photographs, showing the children at different stages of life, each picture more unsettling than the last. The last photo made Daniel drop the box in horror. It was of the children, but this time they were lifeless, their faces pale, their bodies arranged in front of the mansion like trophies. On the back, in the same hurried handwriting, were the words, "They will never leave." From that moment, Daniel could no longer deny the truth. The whispers were not imagination, the footsteps not creaks of an old house. The mansion was alive with the restless souls of those who had suffered within its walls. His regret deepened into torment. Couldn't bring himself to sell the place. Who would he condemn to such a fate? But he couldn't stay either. His health declined, his once strong body weakened, and his mind grew restless. Some days he swore he saw the children watching him from the windows. Other days he caught glimpses of Caldwell's stern figure in the mirrors. The town grew concerned. Neighbors who rarely saw him began to whisper that the veteran had fallen under the mansion's curse. A few tried to visit, but Daniel rarely answered the door. When he did, he looked pale, disoriented, muttering about keeping them quiet. Eventually, Daniel was found unconscious in the cellar, clutching the same photograph he had discovered on his first day, the one with the words, "Forgive me." Though he recovered physically, he left the mansion shortly after, abandoning it as quickly as he had claimed it. The mansion still stands, crumbling yet defiant, its windows like hollow eyes watching the town. Locals say no one has dared to buy it since. Some claim they still see lights flickering inside, or shadows moving across the windows at night. Daniel himself never speaks of it. When asked about the Dollar Mansion, he simply shakes his head and says, "Some things are too heavy to carry, even for a soldier." And so, what began as a veteran's hopeful chance at a new life became a chilling reminder that sometimes the cheapest deals come with the highest cost. The old stone mansion remains a monument of regret, holding its secrets within, waiting for the next soul brave or foolish enough to step inside.